Well, there you go. Creativity in the digital age.
Yes.
You're on.
Great.
You're
Wonderful.
on, Pelle.
So
You're on.
we're gonna have a little fireside chat. It's gonna be the fire is gonna be this egg to be on time. I have now about 8 hours on the first question. So John.
Yes, Pelle.
I've been thinking about things that we might differ on and see how we can see if we can figure it out. Why are you so hard on collaboration? Because I'm Swedish. I absolutely love it.
I know, you're born Swedish, collaboration's part of the culture. That's wonderful. But the danger in collaboration is it leads to consensus. And consensus leads to normality. And I think that if you live in a creative culture, the first thing to understand about creativity is there are two types of creativity. I know you know this, but there's pure creativity and there's applied creativity. So what's pure creativity? Pure creativity is painting the Mona Lisa, coming up with the idea of The Simpsons, maybe creating the Bilbao Museum, the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. Applied creativity is perhaps writing the 43rd episode of The Simpsons, or working out how the staircases function in the Bilbao Museum, the museum in Bilbao. That's applied creativity. And people who do pure creativity, by and large, are not very good at applied creativity. That's an absolute generalization. Right. So if you want to elevate creativity, if you want to put creativity at its peak, you've got to have people who come up with outstanding, unbelievable ideas that are daring, that change the way people feel or think. Then you can work with applied creativity to help make that happen. That's where collaboration comes in.
So the initiation of an idea comes from an individual.
It comes from
the
individual.
Optimization of the idea comes from the group.
And history tells us that, you know.
But if I want to work with people who are better than me, maybe that's why I'm here. You're
better than me.
So that collaboration then is, to me, is hugely important to go to directors that can tell stories better than I can.
Of course.
And all these things. Yeah. So, but you're saying that if we just make sure that collaboration or brainstorms and these types of things does not happen in the beginning, then we're good. Then we can collaborate.
Well, of course you can. I mean, let me tell you something. There is nobody can give me, and this has been challenged again and again, there is nobody who's ever said, this is a great idea that came out of a brainstorm. There is not one. Not one. Now, I can show you thousands of great ideas that came out of one person or two people talking to each other. Yeah. Thousands of them. Nobody can give you one. Yet we will go on doing brainstorms. We will carry on doing them. Somebody has worked out the colossal waste of brainstorms. The number of people in a room having a brainstorm is a colossal waste of corporate time. You've got, it should be accountants should go in and cost it. And it gets you nowhere. It gets you to good. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to do good, go to brainstorms. If you want to do great, leave a brainstorm and come up with a great idea.
But the partnership, I mean...
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Lennon McCartney...
Yeah.
That's a collaboration.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Initiating ideas.
Yeah, I think the reason we all get sort of excited by this and because we have entered a world where everybody's talked about what we need to do is collaborate. And certainly in the advertising industry over the last 15 years, this has been embraced and the quality of work has gone down. It's gone down. That's not my opinion. It's the opinion of the people we talk to. Our audience say the quality of advertising, it's research this, you can get the research out, say the quality of what we're doing is going down. And so, but collaboration is crucially important at the right moment. You know, Frank Gehry, when he built the Bilbao Museum, collaborated eventually when he said, now, this is the idea, now help make it work. So he went to structural engineers and he went to all kinds of people to make it happen. He didn't go into a room and said, I've got no idea what to do with the Guggenheim Museum, let's have a brainstorm.
Exactly.
I don't
Agreed.
think Leonardo
that's
did
great.
when he was painting the Mona Lisa. Hey, let's do it with a brainstorm. You know, should we put an apple on her head? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be a good idea. Maybe not. I don't know.
Fantastic. So I think I'm gonna
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna end that one.
Yeah.
Done. And then we're gonna start a new one. Let's talk about data.
Oh Christ.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
So, or big
data.
Big data.
I love it.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
I know you're less keen. What is your worry here?
Again, I'm not actually. I mean, I think data is very, very important. I mean, I really do. I mean, I've lived my life with people telling me interesting things that they've found out about a market. That did you know people are doing this? All of that is data. What's happened in the last 10 years? And I love the fact that we've called it big data. You know, it's no longer data anymore. It's big data.
It's just a Big Brother.
Yeah, it's like Big Brother, isn't it? Oh, it's watching over you. Is that we've elevated it to a point where people are no longer trying to inspire people. They're waiting for data to give them the answer. And, you know, data is information, and information is crucially important to creativity. You've got to have all this data. You know, you've got to understand it, but it doesn't give you the answer. What it does is it gives you information, and I now realize that people are living and breathing and waiting for the data to give them the answer. And of course, if you wait to do that, somebody else will come up with an inspiring idea and beat you to it. And that's the danger. And the awful thing is, you know, God, I've been around so long, it's embarrassing actually, but you know, you sit in meetings where people say, oh, but you know, John, research is just another person sitting at the table, it's just another opinion. It's not. It's elevated above everything else in those meetings, and it makes the decisions. And like today, data is making the decisions. And that, you know, with a wonderful...
So it's not proof, it's inspiration.
Inspiration.
It's
you know,
information.
The other dangerous thing about it, with lovely, our ex-chairman, Jim Carroll, wrote this brilliant piece, and he called it Wind Tunnel Marketing. And what he said is, everybody has the same information, evaluated in the same way, they all get to the same conclusions. And that's what will happen. And surely, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody disagrees with this in this room, the point of a brand is difference. You know, the point of a brand is to be different. And what data does is it leads you to the same. And it gives people the power to be the same, because they make out that this is more important than anything else.
So, but if you use the data to know where everyone is going,
of
and
course,
use the data to see where the difference is.
You know, remember, I mean, you know, some of the greatest stories in the world were created out of data. The Nativity, after all, was about data collection, wasn't it? You know, they'd go to Bethlehem.
That was after my time.
That was slightly before your time.
Yeah.
I've been around a long time, but yeah. But it was
Yeah.
about data collection, wasn't it? The story came out of data collection. They had to go to Bethlehem to register. Couldn't get a hotel, got in the stable. You know. Great story, data collection.
Fair enough. But I think that's a good point there, that people don't want to experience data. They want to experience great stories.
Yeah.
And great stories comes from great insights, or great human insights and understanding where we care. So if we use the data to as another inspiration, as another information, we can get to those truths.
Yeah, but I don't think that came out of data. None of that came out of data. It came out of somebody's inspired thinking. It came out of a piece of creativity, where somebody said, if we take all these things and put them together, everything in this iPhone existed. Anybody could have done it, but somebody at Apple did it. And they said, I'm going to take all that information, all that stuff out there, and I'm going to reassemble it like this, and I'm going to create something called the iPhone. Everybody else could have done it. They didn't do it. They were all looking at the data. Somebody else was looking at inspiration.
You could also argue that data is a consequence of something, and an idea is starting something.
Oh, I think that's a good way of putting it.
So
yeah.
Data is always going to come after.
Yeah, it's always
and
going to be
we can learn from our mistakes, we can learn from things, but we can't break as much new ground if we rely on causes.
Yeah. Well, I think...
Or effects, sorry.
And I think if you look at... I mean, you know, we all live in a very, very competitive world. It's increasingly competitive, you know. And if you look at other mediums, the other industries that are being successful, you look at where, say, for instance, television today is being successful. What they're doing is they're using creativity to inspire people to come to them. And that's the lesson I think brands have got to learn. And I think whatever competitive world you're in, you've got to use that element of creativity, that inspirational creativity, to make a breakthrough.
So, wait, we're going to end this one.
Yeah, the bars,
I think we agree there.
Yeah.
We agree that data is a great information. We can learn things from it, but if we let it steer us, we will be similar to everyone else.
We should have a new word for it, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be big data anymore. Should it be smart data? Should it be something else data? Should it be, I don't know. Give it a new word. A new way of describing something. Come on, we're in advertising, we should be able to do this, shouldn't we?
Focus group.
Have a focus group.
Oh,
Yeah, brainstorm. That's what we need to do. Have a brainstorm.
Anyone? Do we have a good name for data?
Data, come on. Anybody's got a good idea on what should we call new data?
We'll think about that.
At the moment, it's excessive data. There's too much of it. You know, it's spewing out everywhere, isn't it? People are throwing it up and puking it out. Data blob. We've got, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Next one. Why do you see advertising creatives as being artists? Because I think quite the opposite. Let me put my
your point of view.
I think an artist expresses themselves, something they want to do, whatever makes them happy, and they put out in the world, and the audience can interpret that in any way and love it if they want and not. An advertising creative has to get the same reaction every time. It's never what I think, it's how they perceive it. So I think it's the opposite. We're using the same tools. We're using creativity, we're using words and images and those things, but we're not artists, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Oh, this is one of those debates that raged in our industry for a very, very long time. I sort of go, I think first of all, you know, I think it was Bill Bernbach who said, salesmanship is an art, not a science. So that's where I start. I start with salesmanship is an art, not a science. And I think so many creative people, I mean, you know, we all assume that, you know, people like Michelangelo were, you know, expressing their point of view only. Michelangelo was working to a brief. His job was to sell the church. His job was to sell God. And that's what he did. And so therefore, are you saying to me that the Sistine Chapel is not art? I think it is. Now, I also think that Michelangelo was the first great media thinker, because what he did is he said to the Pope, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to paint the ceiling. And then, you know, people are looking up at my art and they're looking up at God. What a great piece of media buying that was. And I think, you know, it was, wasn't it? A great bit of media buying. You went, look, gee, I'm looking up, there's God. Ah, fantastic. What a place to put God. Up there, not down here.
I think you just proved my point.
Did I? All
yes,
right, okay.
I think the
I haven't
point
finished
is
yet, so I'm going to go on.
Michelangelo used the same tools, in this case art, to make a great ad for God.
Yeah.
He is not the same as an artist who does not have that assignment, who is writing a song for something they want to tell the world. And we all hear ourselves in it. It's not the same story. Whereas Michelangelo had to get the same reaction from everyone. I think it was a very clear brief, probably, with God. Yeah. So perhaps that's where we...
Well, I think creativity is about passion. I think you have to passionately believe in something. And I don't care what it is, if I'm selling a tin of soup to a pair of Levi's to an Audi car or whatever it is. I think you have to passionately believe in it to do great work. And I think that is about creative expression. And there is a kind of, how, you know, I define creativity. Somebody once said to me, you know, music is the greatest of all art forms. And I said, no, it isn't. I think it's the second greatest of all art forms. I think life is the greatest of all art forms. Therefore, I define creativity as an expression of self. We are all creative, you know. We all got up this morning and decided to do certain things, put a tie on, that skirt with that, this, that. These are expressions of creativity. No other creature in nature does what we do. We are inherently creative. And therefore, everything you do is an expression of you. And I don't care what brief I'm working on. I put myself into that work. And that, for me, is what makes advertising an art form, not just a purely sales form. And I think that's what makes the difference. And I think, you know, there's a great, I didn't know this actually, but that great song Blue Moon was actually written for for Vermont, sponsored it to sell Vermont.
Oh, really?
No, most people don't know that, do they? It was. It was not written by some writer, it was commissioned to sell Vermont. And listen to the words again, and it does a brilliant job. So therefore, somebody has created something that has artistry about it. And I think that's what we do in advertising, and I think that's why when it's great, people love it. And when it doesn't have that passion in it, when it doesn't have that sense of creativity in it, it dies and becomes dull and boring.
I suspect that when you make that decision on something that you love, if you see an idea, if you make an idea, I don't think it's because you love it. I think it's you as a professional. You have a very, very well-trained gut, John, you for many, many moons. You make the decision going, I know this is going to work. It's not, I'm going to take this home and put it on my wall. I think you know that the audience is going to react the way you want it to it.
Well, but I think that, you know, I think if you're a novelist, if you're a painter, if you're an architect or whatever, I think you do things that you love. No, necessarily I don't put it on the wall. I don't know that, you know, Frank Gehry has a photograph of the Bilbao Museum as well. I got no idea. Yeah. But I do think I'm very proud of the work that has been the work I wanted to do. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very happy to show it to people and talk about it, and because it's a bit of me, and I think that's what makes it great, and that's what you want people in our business to do. And I think that's an expression of creativity, and that's why I think great creative people in advertising are artists.
All right, I think we have to decide that we're differing on this. And that leads me to my last question that doesn't need time really, I think. So it seems that we have a lot of differences. Why the hell then did you ask me to take over the creative leadership of BBH? Because
I love difference. And I think creativity needs to be constantly challenged. And I think you're doing that. And I think that's brilliant. And that's what I love.
Great. All right.
Thank you. Brilliant.
We've even got room for a question.
You should take the egg.
You've got a legend here who was, I thought, splendidly cynical about big data. I'm chairing a workshop on a breakout session about big data later, which you'll all now come along to find out why John Hegarty is completely wrong. But would anybody like to ask a question of this advertising legend?
No,
well, if you won't, well, then I will.
Yeah, well, go on, Rory. Rory, go on.
Are you frightened by what's happening to advertising at the moment, about its seeming inability and confusion when confronted with the online world and the sort of uprising that is taking place against against the industry, you could say, with the rise of ad blocking and so on?
Well, I'm disappointed in advertising. I'm disappointed that it's lost its creative spirit. Because the future is creative. That is the future. There is no question about it. And we were an industry that still are, to a certain extent, great at it, but we've lost our confidence. And I think the industry's got to get back to understanding that the way you engage with people is you write better work, you do more interesting work, you do work that captures people's imagination. And that requires daring, it requires courage, it requires people standing for their principles that advertising used to do, and it's lost its way. You look at virtually no other industry out there is turning around and saying, oh God, it's so difficult to make cars anymore. There are so many different cars.
Can I just say, I feel there's a huge parallel with my industry, the news industry.
Yeah.
Editors, cussed people 20 years ago used to tell me what was a story and what wasn't a story, and they weren't interested in analytics. They weren't. These days, they're looking at most read, clicks, etc. Is the same thing happening in your industry?
The same thing happens in our industry, a reliance on research. And what's happening to your industry? Sales are going down. What's happening to the advertising industry? It's losing its confidence. What's happening in the television, the world of television? It's going like that because people are going, wow, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones. I'm going to watch House of Cards. I'm going to watch these great programs that are being written. Cinema is doing that. It's employing creativity. You know, I got into a weird little story. A friend of mine picked me up and he got a new Jaguar, the sports car, XJR, I don't know, whatever it is. It was phenomenal. I mean, I have to say to you, and I work with Audi, this car was phenomenal. And, you know, isn't that surprising? You know, and what's happening? It's sales are doing that. And what they did is they got better designers, they made a better car. They didn't go, oh shit, we can't do it, let's look at big data and see what it's telling us. And, oh Christ, you know, people want a bigger boot and they want, you know, somewhere to put a roof rack and that. Fuck that. I'm going to give them a car that really makes them excited. And that's what we want. We want people who passionately believe in those things. Instead of that, everybody's out there, you know, technology's taking over. Technology's always been there. You know, the invention of television, for Christ's sake, what a phenomenal piece of technology. But eventually we learned you could tell great stories on this box sitting in your room. And what's happening? People are watching more television. You know? It's called the employment of creativity.
I think one thing there on television and technology is it's just a behavior change. We don't have to learn the technology. We misunderstood, our industry misunderstood that we need to learn the technology. You don't have to know how to build a TV to make a TV ad. We thought we needed to be able to build the technology to make digital advertising. As an example, we just misunderstood that it was a big threat, but we stick to what we do, storytelling. Everyone cares about that. We just have to find new ways and
new ways of doing it, yeah. And people love it, and that's what works.
Excellent. Well, Jaguar, I hope someone from Jaguar is here because they can
I work with Audi, so I'm giving you a plug here.
Phenomenal Sir John Hegarty on the new car. Thank you very much indeed.
Great to have met you too. Great.